Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer, and welcome back to PCM23. It's Lions episode 126. We're into that late season wrap up phase, but La Vuelta is going to be a part of that, so it's going to take quite a few days. It's going to be our first trip to La Vuelta. We skipped it last year with our first year of obtaining World Tour races. I sat out a couple. This year, we got the gamut. We got everything, and including La Vuelta. Uh, we don't have as much firepower that we're going to have going into that race. Like Samuels will not be there, but we'll still have a strong contingency. It's going to depend on just how strong the opposition is, on whether we're going to have much of a chance. The quick simulation, will be used for some of the race. We won't be taking on every stage. We're not going to have 6 episodes like we did for La Tour. That being said, as we go into that, we're not there yet. It's the World Championships, and we've got a couple things to go over before we get into what is supposed to be a sprint finish. Set up nicely, at least at the moment, with just a 3-rider breakaway on a very lengthy stage. There is undulation here, so that part can be problematic later on. But we've brought 2 sprinters. South Africa, of course, is the only African nation that is included this year, as in PCM23 versus PCM22. There was supposed to be dynamic championships. The number of riders and supposedly the nations involved was supposed to be dynamic. Now, that was supposed to be core in the base game. There's not. South Africa's ranked, 14th, 15th? Maybe 16th in the world right now? I think it's 14th or 15th. But there's 25 nations represented here. And along with Canada, South Africa has the fewest number of riders present. Not only are we 14th, 15th right now, but we have been for multiple seasons. We're not 25th. Eritrea is right there, right next to South Africa in the rankings, and that's why the 14th, 15th thing, because they're right there together. Morocco's in the top 25. It's not dynamic at all. So we continue to have just 2 riders. We continue to only have a single African nation involved in the World Championships. But at least we have the ability to ride, because we don't get the Euros. There really should be other options. There should be a Pan-American competition. There is one in real life. There should be a Pan-American in this game. There should be. It was a nice addition, the Euros, 2-3 years ago. But it's still not enough. And it's not been set up properly to allow for modding to build and expand upon it the way it should be. There should be, for every region of the world, some sort of larger competition. There should be, for every nation in the game, some sort of national championship competition, or at least most every nation in the game. But anyway, I'm of 2 minds on what to do here with De Villiers and Daniels. Both guys that I brought are sprinters. And I did that to, if it comes down to it, the only chance we have is going to be through the sprint and finishing as high as we can and just seeing where we can finish. And the expectations are low on that part, and that's fine. But if we are to have success, it's got to come through that. So I brought 2 sprinters and not a climber to protect, because the climber protecting the lead out for a weak sprinter, a mediocre sprinter, is never going to win. At least with a sprinter protecting a sprinter, you get a lead out and the chances increase. If they don't make it through the climbing portion, well, they don't make it through the climbing portion, right? They were too weak anyway, and at that point, it's not going to be that big of a deal. 70k to go. Anyway, here's the 2 minds part. They both have the same -1 at race day condition. Not really impacting either one of them in a meaningful way. In fact, they both actually look a little better than they could. So Daniels has a base 74 flat, so 75 today, base 77 sprint, 78 today, but he has poor acceleration. And the stamina's, yeah, not so good at 70. But De Villiers is right there with the stamina. The flat's a little bit worse, today a 72. The sprint, a hair worse, today a 77, but has the acceleration. So who to go for? You got one with top speed that's going to be a hair faster. And then you have one who has acceleration and one doesn't. And then you have one that has flat and one that has a bit less. My thought on the matter is that the one who has better flat is going to give us a better lead out, but also with lower acceleration but good top speed, when we hit sprint for him, De Villiers is going to be able to keep the wheel quite easily because he has the acceleration. And as the top speed is almost a direct match, Daniels is going to go flat out earlier. De Villiers is going to be able to go flat out for longer and still have the acceleration piece, so that when he comes out from behind the wheel, he can finish it off. Let's see, with 37k to go, though, this is not looking great. I'm trying to not use one to protect the other because, again, our only chance is going to come down through the cooperation of our two guys and not from a... Oh, gosh, and that hill comes right before the finish. That hill comes right before the finish. I hadn't noticed that. They both have a 66 on the hills, and you're getting, Mohoric, Pedersen, you're getting your classics guys trying to go for it here. 30k to go. This is not looking very good for us at the moment. I'm not liking our chances. I wasn't liking our chances when the race started, but it's not shaping up nicely. I'm almost in a reevaluate and push one guy. Like push for De Villiers and use Daniels to protect, because De Villiers at least has acceleration because they're so low on energy. We are getting some separation, but it's all yo-yoing. But yeah, change of strategy because there's 20k to go and we're just looking rather weak. 2 more times up the hill. This one will set us up for that final one. The 2 riders that are away right now. Oh gosh. Van Aert and Lavelle. And we are now quite low on energy, and the peloton is starting to thin out. Still yo-yoing quite a bit, but a lot of teams have their sprint trains up here near the front and protected, and still 12k to go. One more time on the hill, and yeah, Daniels is clearly not going to make it to the finish line as is, and De Villiers is not looking great for that either at the moment, and those 2 are still away 43 seconds ahead, and we're not chasing particularly hard or fast. It's like nobody wants to be the team to doing the work right now. They all want to set themselves up for the sprint, but those 2 aren't going very fast either. Just 30 seconds ahead now, so they are coming back. 9k. The soft hill right now, setting us up for the finish, but there goes Daniels. And De Villiers 8k and nothing. So this is a bust. This is a bust. We don't have the energy for this one. Now, had we had Samuels here, sure, he would have been okay to the end. But what could he have done? Finished 24th? No sprint capability. When you only have 2 riders, you have difficult decisions to make. And this time the chase was too hard and 2 guys couldn't handle it. Here's that final climb, but De Villiers has nothing to even make it to the top. Trying to get to the front here towards the finish line. Sindre Samuelson has won. Pinhope, Phillipson, Ewan. Okay. Interesting result, huh? Interesting result. 64th and 96th for us. Not a great showing, but again, we were one of just 2 nations that had just 2 riders. The odds were never in our favor. Samuelson is no slouch. The Uno X rider, 24 years of age, 5.5-star sprint talent with an 80-80 in the sprint for his base. Certainly not the fastest one out there, and certainly not capable of handling the punchiest of situations. He has very similar mountain to hills ratio as to what our 2 guys have, but he probably had protection throughout and maybe had he's got 16 career victories. I mean, he's definitely no slouch. Quality rider and certainly a very capable sprinter, much stronger than our guys, especially once you throw in those bonuses. But of course, everybody else besides our 2 guys were carrying those bonuses today. But he's got resistance. Apparently had the race day condition he needed today to now wear the rainbow bands. Finally completing a process that's been a long time coming. Oliver Klote sets off, and we're obviously going to have to back off once he's up to speed here. Just how hard to go with 44K, I don't know. We'll try a 74 for a little bit and see if that makes it. That might be a little too hard. There's a little bit of downhill sections here that'll obviously offer some recovery. I think we'll wait at least to the midpoint of the stage to see how we're doing, because right now we're clearly going too deep. But Klote with a -2 draw, not helping the situation at all, but he still has his 72 time trial rating. It's just his stamina that's impacted with a -2 on that one, and his climbing ability with a -1. Both will have a minor impact, making him a little bit worse. And a 72 is not good in the first place, so Klote's going to be well down the standings. And you can see from the moment we are much, much too deep. Even then, he's still only 32nd. I'm in a 16 down. Here's that perceived downhill section, which really is not giving us a downhill, so we are going to have to back off some more. Let's take it down to a 71 here to allow for some recovery. Finally, a little bit of a descent, but again, he's much deeper than he should be at this point in the race. Anyway, circling back on what I was saying at the beginning of the stage here, Oliver Klote finally has eclipsed Stefan Dabod. Dabod has been the guy for the World Championships all this time, and Dabod's never been on our team. Dabod's mid-30s now, and he's always been a 72 time trialist from day one till now. He's ever so slightly a weaker climber than Klote. Klote is one of our weaker riders. He's nowhere near the top end. But South African time trialists have not been a combination that we have been able to come up with so far. Now, 350 behind for Klote. He lost a lot more time in that second sector as we backed off the pace a little bit. 2.5 minutes lost instead of 1.25 minutes. So clearly, he lost twice as much time backing off that little bit than what he did. But that 71 is starting to rein in, and he might just about make it to the finish line with this similar pace, but that means we can expect to lose at least another couple minutes, putting us about 6 minutes down overall by the time we reach the finish line, which is clearly not going to be a very competitive time. It's what we have. This has been the tell of the tape for South Africa. For whatever reason, we have not gotten any good South African time trialists, period, for the entirety of this thing. And as we make our final push here with Klote, we're down to 1 kilometer and attacking for the line. 6 minutes, there you go, plus 4 seconds. And I probably could have gotten that 4 seconds if we pushed on that little bit earlier. But otherwise, we would have been 39th at 6 flat. Klote definitely not a good performance. But at least we finally have an all MTN collection of riders for the World Championships. So we have built up that strong. We have gotten to that place. Of course, we still lack one particular rider, not South African, but Gramai, who is still the best rider in Africa, and we've been unable to ever get him on our team, unable to ever afford him. But outside of him, we now have the best talent available, and we've certainly been, again, besides him, eclipsing everybody else in the continent. Johannes Dalek's done a little bit since leaving us. Like, we've seen some impressive performances, but you've also seen what the team tactic is regarding Johannes Dalek. Every time we see him, he's off in a breakaway. They send him in the breakaway all the time, and so he's competing for KOMs or stage wins from the break, which is a rarity, but he's got a chance to steal a stage here and there. Foss currently tops the time charts. Cavagna just came in at second. Wout van Aert goes top comfortably. He was the last rider to ride, and he has claimed victory. World champion Wout van Aert. Meanwhile, the signings are just starting to happen. It's just the 10th of August, and it always takes a week before they begin to make those signings. But the 6-star guys are gone. So we're down to the 5.5-star talents, but of course we already have, at minimum, a full page of them remaining. So there's a lot of movement still to happen. We're already down to 24th, so we're already guaranteed not to make World Tour. Even if we get some internal progression, I highly doubt that we're going to see us move up much. Here's to hoping, because we certainly have a whole bunch of riders that still have levels that have not leveled up in ages. Our leveling has just dried up this year with, I think, 2-3 level ups in the top half of the team the entire year. It's August. The signings are done. Now's a perfect time for it, as we have a couple months to go. I'd love to see somebody break into that top 3 and improve our standing just a little bit in the index, because there is danger, there is threat that we could get bumped out of Continental Pro, and that would of course break the World Tour calendar and really break the series. I mean, if that happens, I don't see how we have any chance to rebound from that. That would be essentially game over. Pressure is on, as we have already dropped to 31st just a week later. That's a big drop, and we'll take a look at the index in just a second, but at least in the short term, in the other portion of the rankings, we're still third. We are still third as a nation. However, there are 3, not as a nation, as a team. There are 3 teams right on our heels, all World Tour teams, of course, and with La Vuelta, unless we get an exceptional performance, unexpected, though it may be, that's about the only thing that's going to help us retain say a top 5 position. At this point, it's looking like we could be dropping to 7th or 6th in the near future. Even though the season is not done, we have just eclipsed last season's total, though, and that's before we even had to La Vuelta. But of course, we didn't have La Vuelta last year, so we have exceeded last year's points haul, but only just. But we've still got a couple months to go, and at least that one big race left ahead of us, plus the Lombardia, a couple other World Tour races. So big opportunity to grab at least another 1,000 points, maybe 2,000 points over the remainder of the season. It's definitely a good year. It's definitely growth from where we were, despite really not having a team that's any better than what we had a year ago. Arab made the big jump last year. No one's made a big jump this year. No one. We've had a couple guys, progress and break into the 4.5 group, but there's been nothing in terms of the uber talent, the top guys. So going back to what we were talking about, though, with what we have, South Africa's 17th, Eritrea's 15th. But remember, there was 25 nations there. There's your Ireland, who had 3 riders. Canada, where even is Canada? Canada is 36th. They got 2 riders. Where South Africa 17th got 2 riders. Morocco's 18th got no riders. Eritrea's 15th got no riders. it would be nice if their claim that it was going to be dynamic this year would have been true. Pogacar has eclipsed Evenepoel as the top rider in the rankings, ahead of La Vuelta. Let's go look at that index, shall we? Gruppetto, nobody's at 5-star right now, and we are 31st. Austria Car, Continental team, making a significant jump. World Tour teams that are struggling. You've got Geico looking to get back into World Tour. You have MTK trying to get into World Tour. And you have Radstand trying to get back, I think, into World Tour. And that's just the 4-star. How are we not? We were already 4-star, and we're less than 4-star now. How do we have a smaller evaluation than we did? Our top 3 guys got worse? We were a hair over 4 stars last year. I'm confused. But as for the bubble, it's 36th. We're already down to 31st. It's a concern, but let's see what's left in the free agency market. Okay, good news. All of the 5.5-star riders are gone. All of the better than 5 stars are already signed for the coming year. So that's big. That is very big. But there's still a lot of 5-star riders left. And as we have just 2 of those, there's still plenty of riders to go around to impact things. We've got Martinelli as the bottom end. Let's see, Bagioli is... Oh, Zorich. There you go. Zorich is the last 5-star guy. So Bagioli, that's 1 page. That's almost 2 pages to Van Uden. That's almost 3 pages to Watson. And then a few more. So 3 pages worth. That's a lot of 5-star riders left. That could absolutely leave us in harm's way. So we're going to leave this episode on that cliffhanger. Next up, of course, is La Vuelta. It's still about a week away, so we'll get another update on if this is thinned down a little bit and if our position has remained at least semi-stable. But we are right now about where we were in the rankings last year, and we're still looking at a good 45 5-star talents. That could absolutely end up on any number of teams below us in the rankings to see them bump us. Of course, many of those 45 riders could also end up on the teams that are already above us. But it depends on how that spread works, on whether we're still going to be above the bubble or not once these riders are gone through. I would imagine also that in a week there might still be a handful of them left at that point, meaning it still won't quite be decided just yet. So we're in a little bit of trouble right now. It is definitely time to worry. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now.